How do you know what's good and what's bad? I mean, really. This isn't a video I planned to make. I actually just finished making a video in my car about graffiti because I found a tag that said Carpo on it, and I thought it was the funniest thing, so I drove back by to make sure. Made a little video about that, and I was just getting ready to continue on my slow 2-mile-an-hour trip home back from work, but on a Friday. And then it occurred to me the good and evil paradigm as something I just wanted to discuss for a minute. And such a contentious topic, right? I mean, it doesn't have to be, but when you really get into it with people, you start talking about free will and determinism, good and evil. People have these, very solid ideas and opinions on what these things mean. But when you get a little deeper, you find that people don't really know what the fuck they believe. Good and evil is a perfect example, or good and bad. I think evil, yeah, that's a tricky one. Is it good and bad or good and evil? Because, I mean, it would be more like good and bad or divine and evil. But that gives, that term divinity kind of, I don't know. I guess I'm getting too much into the semantics here. But my question is, how do we define what's bad? I guess I could come up with several examples. The most, obvious to me would be war. Anytime countries go to war, the first thing that's done is to dehumanize the other side, to make them look like monsters, not even humans. Therefore, we are the good, they are the bad. And this very simplistic and ignorant thinking is really the worst thing as humans that we do. Of all the shit that we do, let's talk about, we damage the planet, we harm the environment, but we do these things to extract resources, to make money. But when it comes to war, people die in large numbers in order for one person to feel like they're vindicated, and they get many other folks to follow them. The only difference between, say, a cult and a religion, I've said this before, and this is just, very basic, but the difference between a cult and a religion is that the leader of the cult is still alive. And when it comes to politics, they can become very cult-like. And people will follow somebody to their deathbed, believing that they're doing the best thing for their country and for the other people around them, which is noble in the eyes of those in their country, but horrific in the eyes of those that they're attacking. And, to make it clear, many wars of the past were fought from sides that considered themselves equal to one another. In other words, it was two superpowers going to battle, whereas today it's more like one guy dominating another. It's very obvious who has the power. And when so many different people are involved, the idea that you could ever label an entire group of people bad or evil just complicates the issue of what should we be doing to, what is a good idea versus a bad idea as far as, say, attacking someone or bombing someone. I don't want to get into the politics of what's going on out there in the world right now, because every year it's a different war. I try not to get caught up in what specifically is happening, but I do have some very strong feelings about a specific country that is starving another country right now. I have analyzed this good and evil, good and bad scenario so many times over the past 6 months since this war started that I started asking myself, maybe I've come to the wrong conclusions. Maybe I need to back off and think about this for a minute. And what is the end goal and the end result? And maybe it's worth it. Maybe the ends justify the means. But at no time have I been able to convince myself in my heart that that's true. I think when, civilians suffer because of what those in power do, it's one of the worst things that happens on this planet. And I know people, the answer to that, the response is usually, well, you voted for it, or, well, this country let these people be in power. Now, no matter what country you're from, let's say you're from the US, are you going to buy that argument to say, oh, you voted it in? No, of course not, because we vote in a system that we consider somewhat, honest and free. But even then, there's a lot of funny stuff going on behind the scenes, and it's usually a very close election. In some countries, you have leaders that a lot of people hate, but when they're walked to the poll booth with a gun in their face to vote for the guy that's going to get 90% of the vote just because that's, because that's the way they make it, that's the way it's rigged. It doesn't matter whether or not the election's rigged or whether people are hoodwinked and fooled. There's a lot of propaganda out there that convinces people that somebody else is the bad guy, and that there's no way that people on their side could ever be in the wrong. And I think it's very simple. It's not a complex issue. If whatever you believe to be right involves killing other people who are innocent, who haven't harmed anyone, then you're wrong. 100% of the time, without fail. Otherwise, basically, we're living in fucking Minority Report. Well, this person could have been this way, or this person could have been a terrorist. I'm embarrassed by humanity, but it's not the people I'm embarrassed by. I'm embarrassed by the people we've allowed to take power, and the people that we continue to support within those power structures. One guy in particular that runs one particular country, but there are several. And the way that those who are members of these forces and these groups defend these people as if, well, this is just war. This is just what happens in war. I start asking myself, wait, aren't we living in the 21st century now, where precision is kind of the, be all end all of war? That was the whole point, was to have precision strikes so we can minimize casualties and maximize innocent people being saved to live another day so they can enjoy this world, this beautiful world, just like we do. No. Humans fool themselves all the time, but I've never seen it to such a degree as I do today. I would say that in the past, people have been fooled, but today, with all the information at our fingertips and basically video of everything that's going on in every place around the world, there's no excuse. There's just no excuse to support the slaughter or starvation of innocent civilians. To me, it's absolutely disgusting. It's abhorrent. It is the pinnacle of the worst of humanity and the worst that humanity has to offer. And this is what leads people to be more of anarchists, if you will. It's not about chaos and everybody doing what they want. It's about not having leadership that can dictate wars without the will of the people, but also leadership that can't start wars even with the people on their side if the people are misinformed and have a poor understanding of what's actually going on. And that's why I say I put it on the people, because we need to do our due diligence and really look at things not from our, playing the mental gymnastics game of, well, this might be okay because of this and this. No. If innocent people are dying, if people are being starved, it's wrong. Hands down. 100%. And I will stand by that for my whole life. I don't see that ever changing. It's the way I've felt since I was young. And I know that as you get older, you start to develop, let's just say a more jaded understanding of the world, that, hey, reality doesn't always coincide with peace and love, the 60s, the whole hippie movement. But then you kind of come back around and say, no, in the 60s, they started something good. They had something going. It was just people like Timothy Leary who fucked it up by believing everybody should take acid. But I understand his intention, but this is more about people, not believing the machine, not buying into the system and allowing themselves to be hoodwinked over and over and over again. It's disgusting. And at least we could say we bought into the propaganda at one time. Today it's more like, oh well, I'm just choosing to believe this because I want to think that my team is better than the other team. Hence, good and evil, black and white, very general view of the world, which is absurd, lazy, and arrogant. And I'm personally sick of it. I'd like to see a world where we're not killing people for stupid shit. And we're not, especially not killing other people for someone else's sins. Shame on us. Peace out.